I've done a little masking here so I don't have to clean it off later, but weld through coating is going to go in these areas in there, as well as this edge and this edge and this edge. I want to have as much corrosion protection as I can in these areas. We'll seam seal these edges off as well. I've also drilled out for the fuel filler so I don't have to come back and do that later. And then I'll set this thing in place. Weld through coating is on where it counts. Same with here. I've pulled the tape off. I also forgot to mention I've drilled holes in here. The small ones are where the screws are going to go. We'll fill it with weld later, but the big ones are all for plug welds. These small ones though, there's focus. They are for the tie down hooks for the top. I've kept those there. I'm going to put them back on. We're short some, so I'm going to have to make some or see if I can get them cheap. I've added the holes for this when I go to weld the fuel door. So let's get that guy on there and let's weld it in. It's time. All right, it's on there. I'm gonna have to put a little bit of a slit in here so I can grind it flush and hammer it, etc. Screw it down, and then we'll have to fasten this yet with a clamp. And so I've got my plug weld holes, and I can see them all. And I also got the tie down. If I have them, I can show you guys them after here. Tie downs. So they're gonna go on here. And I plan on putting the light back in. I've kept a piece for that. It's hiding underneath here, but that's the shape. I've kept the whole curve from the back so I know what distance to give it. There's a couple other, there's like the spare tire mounting bracket and other things in there that'll make this useful for keeping. That actually goes right in this area here. And this flange cut, or this cut here, goes in the bottom. It's pretty easy to remember too. The bottom of this flange line. Right there on the bottom of that flange line. So yeah, it's got a lot of useful markers and measurements in there. I don't know if badge holes or anything like that, but yeah, we'll keep that piece. So quarter panel's welded in. You can see I've got it solid welded along the seam. I've got to grind it down and tack welded like you would. I blew a cool on each spot weld. I've showed in other videos, won't get too much into that, but there should be very little warping. And then I've plug welded along the seam. And I've left the holes open for the tie down hooks. We've got to add all our other holes here yet, and mounting points and whatnot. Spare tire, carrier, brackets and stuff like that. But the quarter panel is pretty much done. I got a couple spot welds in here I take the tire off to get to, and they'll just hold this section from here down together. And I'm going to weld the gas door in, or the gas little pocket thing where you fill gas in. I'll weld that in, and then we'll get to grinding this thing to look real good, just like the rest of it. And I know people are going to comment on the weld quality, but that's auto body welding right there. If you want to warp your panel, you can let it rip and get a nice fine looking weld. This one you got to do little tacks. You can kind of see I've kept them small, about the width of my fingernail, and that allows it not to warp as badly or at all. So fuel door is prepped. You can see I've cleaned up the weld, or I've ground it down clean to make it look nice and flat. Got weld through coating on there, and the inside it's drying so we won't hold it in place, but it's going to be set in there. I'll hit one more coat on there. I find letting it sit longer than the can says of 10 minutes actually helps. So sometimes going in overnight and coming back if you got the time for it isn't a bad thing, and that's what I'm going to do here. There's the fuel pocket, and I'm going to clamp as close as I can to all the holes. I might have to screw beside to get it to suck tight. We'll see if I can get clamps in. on the other side. But if I can clamp them in and get them tight, I'll plug weld these, and then I'll solid weld it around here so I can get that proper rounded edge that matches factory. Alright, it is spot welded and perimeter welded, so I should be able to grind that nice and flush like we did that. Inside the truck, it looks right. You can see there's proper penetration through both layers, which is pretty cool actually. Part of me wants to not have a fuel door on there. I kind of like that look. I got time to decide on that. If I do put it on, I'll just have to, I guess, find one or make one. So an interesting tidbit, the metal is around 22 degrees in my shop, and when I bring it over to the spot welds, here it's still a little warm, but the panel in general is a little warm. But when I hit that spot weld, like right there, I was up to 300 degrees. That was after the orange glow disappeared. So there's a lot of heat there. For those of you wondering how hot the weld gets, and that's why I like to cool it with the blowgun and then hit the next weld. So I'm going to grind these up clean now, but we got the fuel pocket door in there. And part of me is wondering if I should not bother putting a door on here. I kind of like the more rugged look of not having a door on there. I actually like the one that have the castle window type on top better yet, but that's not 1974. And I think if we backdate, we should be backdating like majority of the vehicle to the older style. Well, check that out. It is done, installed. I've cleaned up all the welds. I'm very happy with them. I'm very glad I bought that 90-degree angle grinder, the 3-inch discs. Got the fuel door in here. So my contemplation is, do we put a door on or do we leave it off? I have time to think about that, but it is something that's running through my mind. I kind of like the open part of it, I guess open concept. But that's it there. And that leads into rockers and quarters. Alright guys and girls, got lots done here. It looks better than I'd hoped. Well, as good as I wanted, but better than I expected it to. I'm happy with that. There will be very little body work needed here at this point. The metal is fairly straight enough to be efficient with the body work. And you know, these old Land Cruisers never were 100% perfect. Knowing me, I'll probably try and get it close to that, but there shouldn't be a lot of block sanding needed. Like, this is pretty good down here, guys. So that's done. Now we have to duplicate everything you see here on the other side for the next video. Is probably what's going to happen unless we throw something that's not Land Cruiser in there. But next time you see this Land Cruiser, we will be doing other side, at least quarter. We'll start with that, and maybe shaping that thing and whatnot, maybe get some rockers done. So yeah, I'm happy with it. Until next time guys, we'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Get stuff done in your shop. Bye.